with seeing interconnections and relationships, it's displacing our really tends our focus and attention that tends to be on ourselves. So it's helping us to look outside of ourselves. And as we mentioned earlier, in organizational systems, we spend a lot of time thinking about ourselves. How do I show up? What are other people thinking of me? Am I about to say something? Will it sound sensible? Should I try and network with that person? A lot of this is very self-orientated and very performative in nature. And some pauses, when we get shaken out of that self-focus, can be really interesting. I mean, this isn't organizational setting at all, but it keeps on popping up in my head, so I'll just mention it. I remember when I was backpacking all those many years ago, I remember I was with a very good old friend of mine in America, and she took me to see the Grand Canyon, and I'd never seen the Grand Canyon before. And I think we were engaged in a kind of heavy conversation or something. We must have been, I remember having my attention very much firmly on me and the topic that we were talking about. And she pulled the car into the side of the road and she said, right, let's just walk over over that road and look over that viewpoint. And I remember being still very much stuck in whatever world I had been in. And then I looked up and I saw my first picture of the Grand Canyon. And I don't know which the viewpoint was, but it was utterly astonishing. I mean, my whole breath left me. I actually burst into tears from being so kind of focused on the small, on the self and this topic that we were talking about. In one single moment, I experienced being so small in a good way in comparison to this sight that I suddenly had. And it was that sort of it's one of the most wonderful wake-up calls that I've had. And when pauses can do that, and that's a rather an extreme one, perhaps, but it's when pauses remind us that we're not the center of the universe. And when pauses remind us to really look outwards. And as Buber said, turn towards the other, turn towards the environment that's around us. When we do that, oh my goodness, it can be such a relief not to be so focused on having to be a certain way and our sort of self-obsession as well. So that's something that pauses can hold. That's a potential that pauses can hold. And sometimes they can be very dramatic and other times perhaps a little smaller. But it's that shifting of attention outwards that is really, really, really valuable.